So the lie began from the very beginning of time, right? And I can ask you one question right now. What does history tell you about Africa? Who discovered Africa? If you write right now on Google who discovered Africa, you find out that is one white man that he came and discovered Africa. And you can ask yourself that how can you discover a place that already exists? How can you discover a place that people already live in that place? It is impossible, but that's what the history tells us. That's what people believe about Africa, that it was discovered by a white man. This guy, he came and then he went back, he gave a report, and then the next we know is colonialism, because those guys, they sat somewhere to divide Africa like a piece of cake because they discovered it, they own it, it belonged to them. But that is us. We discovered, we're the first people to know. And today you have a lot of people around the world that they think that Africa was discovered by them.
Come and assist. I still want to load. Present teacher, I still want to load my music. Come and assist. I'm coming for you then. Limpopo, politiki di change le kaena. elele se chocho, elele se la batabanya, elele se la bokokove, elele se la batabanya, elele se la bokokove, se la batabanya, elele se chocho, elele se la batabanya, elele se chocho, elele se la batabanya.
Yeah, okay, thank you, SG. Amandla. 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 Forward with expropriation of land without compensation. Forward. Forward with expropriation of land without compensation. Forward. Forward with expropriation of land without compensation. Forward. Forward with nationalization of banks and mines. Forward. Amandla. Go away. 2. Long live the CIC. Long live. Long live the CIC. Long live. Long live the CIC. Long live. Defend. 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 Advance. 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 Amandla. Thank you very much, commissars and fighters. Let me start by welcoming the president, the officials, and the representatives of all provinces and the CCT members. I welcome you today to the first plenum of the Third People's National Assembly. We are here today to plan our way forward after the Third National People's Assembly. This is going to be a very interesting platform because after all what has happened, we are here today to map a way forward. If one looks at the resolutions of the Third People's National Assembly, one can see that when all of us attended that conference, we were all fired up and ready to go to the battleground. This is what's going to happen. We are now going to call upon Usnawo Tambo to sing the national anthem for us. Thank you.
Mandla. Oi, 2. Let's all stand at attention, commissars and fighters, and sing Gosigelele and take off our caps unless you're wearing a beret, unless umdo mama. School Gosigelele without this stem, as composed by Enoch Sonto. Ngosisigele li Afrika malupaganyi su Pondolwayo izwa imithandazo yethu Nkosi sikelela thina lusapho lwayo Nkosi sikele Afrika maluphakanyisu phondo lwayo izwa imithandazo yethu Nkosi sikelela thina nosapho lwayo sithi woza moya hawuza moya oh moya woza woza moya oyi oyingcwele Ngosi sikelela thina lusapho lwayo murena buluka sichaba sa Yesu ufedise dintwali matwenye o murena buluka sichaba sa Yesu ufedise dintwali matwenye usibuluke usibuluke murena hausichaba sa Yesu sichaba sa Afrika usibuluke usibuluke murena hausichaba sa Yesu sichaba sa Afrika makubenjalo kute kube ngunapha kate kute kube ngunapha makube njalo kute kube ngunapha kate kute kube ngunapha kate mandla.
Thank you very much, Somlomo. Umoya and Uva. And as noba silele very late, I know abanye bethu bebelahleka izolo. Ndifuna ukuthi nje kancinci ndithi ngalento esiyenzayo ngalento esiyenzayo ngalento esiyenzayo asinaluvalo ngalento esiyenzayo ngalento esiyenzayo ngalento esiyenzayo asinaluvalo sithi vuma vuma moya wa sithi vuma vuma moya wa sithi vuma moya wa kawuvume moya wa kawuvume moya wa kawuvume moya wa moya wa muyavuma amandla ndizawubiza u-SG now to give us the roll call and apologies. Over to you, SG.
Mandla. Viva EFF, viva. 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 Long live the Commander-in-Chief, long live. 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 Amandla. Thank you very much, National Chair. Let me greet the President, the officials, members of the CCT, PCTs, and all the delegates to the plenum. The roll call or the credentials of this plenum as follows. The CCT, we're expecting 84 and 83 are present. PCTs, the expected delegation is 162, 140 are present, and 22 are absent. MPs, we expected 8 and all of them are here. MMCs, we expected 22 and 18 are here. The provincial breakdown, Eastern Cape 15, expected 14 present. Free State 18, expected 17 present. Gauteng 20, expected 18 present. KwaZulu-Natal 19, expected 18 present. Limpopo 15, expected 15 present. Mpumalanga 22, expected 20 present. Northwest 21, expected 17 present. Northern Cape 16, expected 11 present. And Western Cape 16, expected 10 present. The apologies is our DSG due to ill health. She's not with us today. In the Eastern Cape is Fighter Ganya, was running late, and then in Free State it's Fighter Ishmael. Lelimo is family responsibility. In Gauteng it's Fighter Pinky Mashamaite, who's on the way, and Fighter Kenneth, who's running late as well. In KZN it's Fighter Nomvira Dlamini, ill health. In Mpumalanga it's Fighter Tumisani Mtenjan, family responsibilities. And then Fighter Lindiwe Mataba, it's work commitment. And then in Northwest, that will send apologies, it's Fighter Tintwe Mehwe, family responsibility. Kosekwang Sehole, bereavement. Mkari Klaba, ill health. Tumelo, family responsibility. Northern Cape is definitely ill health. Hilda Mormoti, organizational commitment. Glenda Lipol Lisa, family responsibility. Lesego, ill health. Khoitiane, organizational commitment. In Western Cape is Kakiso Temba, work commitment. Kobisa Kukushe, family responsibilities. Pelogas Tugu, work commitment. Zenande Janji, work commitment. David Swart, ill health. Aisha Kasim, ill health. And the MMCs were not here. It's any maternity leave. Bridget Tuse, running late. Mavis Tsibande, bereavement, and Pindile Mahlaba, ill health. Chair, that's our credentials. So out of the 276 delegates, 249 physically present in the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. We are now going to move to our fourth item, which is the adoption of the agenda. But before I do that, let me go through the agenda. The first item was opening and welcome. Second item, Nkosi Sikelele Africa. Third item, roll call and apologies. 4, adoption of the agenda. 5, introduction of the Central Command Team, but we will move that item for tomorrow because of time. Number 6, induction of CCT, PCT, MPs, and MMCs. Item number 7, external presentations. That is the state of the South African economy, media and communications, leadership and its struggles, history of the land question in South Africa, and the pitfalls of post-1994 land reform. Item number 8, closure. And then number 9, team building. That is our agenda for today. Can I then ask for the mover of the agenda? Commissar Kosim Kondo.
Thanks, Chair. Greetings to the leadership, CIC and leadership. Chair, my name is Kosim Kondo. I stand to move for the adoption of the agenda.
Any seconder? Commissar Matapelo Suisa.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings, CIC and officials. I stand to second the movement of the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our agenda has been adopted. We are now going to move straight to item number 6, which is the induction, and I'm going to call upon the DP to introduce the CIC or to call upon the CIC. Thank you. Over to you, DP.
Thank you very much. Amandla. Amandla. Commander-in-Chief, our President, our officials with us today, commissars and PCT members here with us today, our special guests from the municipalities and parliament and legislatures, other guests here with us, including the media, our beloved staff members. Without much ado, time is just against us. We've got no time maybe to say quite a number of things. We're here to hear the leadership, the president, giving us umhlandlandlela for the term of office of 5 years, and in particular for the next 12 months. Commander-in-Chief, President. This one. I must use this one. Not this one.
Amandla, 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 Viva EFF, Viva, Viva EFF, Viva, Amandla. Thank you very much, comrades. I've been asked by the Secretary General to just give a political overview so that we allow members of the media to leave and then we engage in the proper induction of the CCT. National Chairperson, officials, and members of the Central Command team, fighters who are present here today, deployed to the provincial legislature, National Assembly, the National Council of Provinces, and the members of the mayoral committees, MMCs, who govern in various municipalities. I extend my revolutionary greetings to you in the name of economic freedom in our lifetime. I'm pleased that we have all been able to return from the festive season unharmed and ready to pick up the baton towards defending, rebuilding, and advancing the generational mission of economic freedom in our lifetime. For those we have lost along the way during this period, I extend my deepest condolences, and may we be able to repay their service to this revolution by attaining that which they believed in until their last breath, which is the return of the land and the economy into the hands of its rightful owners. Fellow fighters, what is most commendable is that as revolutionaries, you did not allow yourself to be overwhelmed by a prolonged holiday season, and you showed your selflessness by helping the vulnerable in primary and high schools across the country. The Umntwana Esikolweni campaign and Sofunda Ngenkane campaign, which aims to ensure that the doors of learning are open for all. It's a generational task we have taken from the revolutionaries who crafted the Freedom Charter. As the EFF, we have become the true custodian of liberation in this country since the former liberation movement has become a weapon of capital. Therefore, when you demand that learners and students must be allowed to register for free, when you deliver laptops, school shoes, uniforms, improve infrastructure, and donate to schools to improve the learning experience of the youth, you are picking up the Freedom Charter from the dustbin and implementing it. For your commitment and love for our people and for your love for education, which is at the center of our freedom, because land and education go side by side, I salute you. I salute you for beginning the new chapter of this struggle by servicing our people, and this is an attitude that must define the EFF moving forward. Commissars and fighters, we are gathered here today after a successful third National People's Assembly, which elected the leadership collective and resolved on key tasks that must be achieved over the next 5 years. The Plenum serves as a strategic meeting of the EFF that charts the agenda and program for the EFF for the year, drawing from the mandate and resolutions of the Third National People's Assembly with an appreciation of the condition confronting society today. It is at this gathering wherein the leadership from the provinces and those who are deployed in the legislative sphere will plot the road to freedom through deliberate program of action and intervention which will defend the gains of freedom and advance the genuine interest of the people towards complete emancipation. Commissars and fighters, I wish to declare at this gathering, not only to the audience before me today, but to all the fighters and structures in the ground, that we have begun a new chapter and we stand here stronger than ever before. The only language that we speak moving forward is how do we improve the lives of ordinary people, and anything outside of this constitutes a delay to the liberation of African people. From this platform, I declare that our primary agenda is the defeat of white monopoly capital and its collaborators, and this defeat will be achieved through determination, discipline, and service to the poorest of the poor and forgotten masses of our people. Our declaration is that we have defended this movement of the people, and in our defense, we have emerged victorious. Our declaration is that we will no longer mourn, but we will organize ourselves to defeat the enemy who stand in the way of the freedom of our people, whoever that enemy may be. Fellow fighters, we have closed the chapter of contestation. We have closed the chapter of division. We have closed the chapter of infiltration. We have now begun a journey of unity of purpose and unity of principle, and it is so through this that we will liberate the black child from the chains of poverty and hopelessness. Fighters, we are stronger than ever before, and the way you began 2025 by being humble servants of those whose cries are ignored prove to me that we have remained the last hope for our people. You humbled yourself at the feet of the elderly who were begging for help to get their children into school. You humbled yourself before the tears of kids who had never before seen a computer in their lives and gave them that dignity. You presented yourself before a disparate youth that says no to drugs and crime and only needed help with registration. It is this act alone that must encourage you and prove to you that you are a soldier of the people and you belong to the ranks of the Red Army of the EFF. Commissars and fighters, our task now is to rebuild and advance towards total victory in the 2026 local government elections. It is clear that our victory is necessary and our victory is a demand from generation before us to serve our people. For us, liberation means service to the people. There is no liberation that will be achieved while you are absent from the people. Liberation demands that you subject yourself to the will of the people. Liberation demands selflessness and service, and you must do this without expecting any praise or reward from our people. Fighters, revolution means service at all costs, regardless of the material conditions. It is for this reason that we as the EFF declare the year 2025 as the year of picket lines. It is the year where we return to the streets and to the people in order to report to them that the EFF is alive and well and remain at their services regardless of what they've thought of us in the past. Commissars and fighters, the EFF is the property of the working class and a child of the downtrodden masses of our people, and therefore in 2025 we return this child to the people. Commissars and fighters, to rebuild, we must return to those who gave birth to us, because it is only them who will know how to rebuild that which they gave birth to. It is the people who will give us necessary strength, the necessary courage, and the necessary wisdom to stand on our feet and confront the enemy and complete the mission given to us by heroes and heroines of the past. We have defended this birthright of the liberation struggle, and when provoked, we will always do so. But it is now time to focus on the rebuilding process, and the rebuilding process begins with building strong branches, strong sub-regional structures, but most importantly, not building these structures for the sake of it, but building them in order to service our people. It will therefore be compulsory for all commissars, leaders and provincial structures, members of municipal councils, legislatures and parliament, sub-regional structures, and the branches of all of you will be expected to embark on a program of action on the picket lines and service delivery on a weekly basis. The picket lines, commissars, and fighters refers to where we will be operating on a daily basis as the advanced detachment of the working class. As a people's organization, we must have a battlefield, and that battlefield will not be in the offices or in never-ending planning meetings, but our battlefield will be the streets and in communities. It is on these picket lines that will conduct service delivery. Comrades, service delivery does not mean you must have money or be deployed in government, because the former liberation movement must be proved to you that being in government does not automatically mean you will service the people. Service delivery means cleaning your own community consistently. It means providing a transport service to the elderly to go and collect their grant so that they do not become victims of crime. And it means forming part of community forums to combat crime. Service delivery means cutting the grass and painting the buildings at your local clinics and schools. It means adopting an indigent family and sharing with them the little you have, because that is humanity. The EFF must begin to be service delivery orientated and socialist, whether we're in government or not. Fellow fighters, the charter that defines a fighter who is on the picket line is the character of grassroots activism. This means that we must be present and active in the popular struggles of our people, not because we want visibility, but because we want to solve the challenges. Grassroots activism means that you must lead the demands for water and refuse collection in your ward and in your VD. It means you must be at the forefront of demanding the repair of potholes, of reporting the abuse of women and children in your community to the police, and you must be at the forefront of fights against drug abuse and corruption by police or councillors who sell jobs in exchange for sex or who employ on the basis of political affiliation. This is the language we must speak in 2025. We must be ruthless against factionalism. We must be harsh against the reporting of lies as we establish sub-regional structures towards the 2026 local government elections. And we must be unforgiving of corruption, laziness, and individuals who fail to take responsibility and initiatives. Commissars, as of today, the language of the EFF in 2025 is what have you done for communities this week? The language of the EFF in 2025 is service delivery and grassroots activism. This year is the year of the picket lines. Commissars and fighters, the plenum that we have convened must deliberate on the finalization of resolution of the Third National People's Assembly, which is a democratic will of the branches of the EFF. These resolutions must be converted into a programmatic agenda that will be implemented by all structures at all levels. Most importantly, the resolutions must be fine-tuned and they must be attached to timelines of implementation so that we can hold ourselves accountable and not delay the will of the branches of the EFF. It is important to attach a time frame on these resolutions to ensure that they do not fall through the cracks, and it is equally important to align them with a program of action so that they do not remain ideas in our heads, but becomes a reflection of our work and activities on regular basis. Key amongst these resolutions are the EFF must dissolve all regional structures which will be replaced with sub-regional structures. In light of the resolutions to dissolve the regional structures, the EFF must allocate resources to establish fully equipped sub-regional offices in every municipality. The EFF must establish a youth command and dissolve the EFF student command. The EFF must create a political education college offering accredited courses on Marxism, Leninist, Fanonian ideology, organizing, and governance. The EFF must establish a performance review system for all deployed members and representatives with transparent reporting mechanism. The EFF must table legislation that grants the state custodianship powers over the land by retabling the amendment of Section 25 of the Constitution to expropriate land without compensation. The EFF must establish a land and agrarian unit similar to the EFF labor desk, staffed with highly skilled people to direct an upscale program on land occupation. This unit must have agricultural and legal expertise to minimize program's impact. The EFF must table a private members bill amending the extension of the Security of Tenure Act to outlaw the eviction of lifelong farm workers and dwellers. The EFF must provide legal representation, support to rape victims so as to improve the efficient and effective management of cases brought before the organization. The EFF must demand data, subsidies for vulnerable people, and push legislative mechanism to introduce Wi-Fi infrastructure at clinics, libraries, and bus stations. The EFF must demand an end to austerity that compromises the health system efficiency and must demand sufficient funding for health care. The EFF must advocate for the establishment of a pharmaceutical industrial zone on state land, including establishment of a state-owned pharmaceutical company with investors required to collaborate with the state-owned pharmaceutical company to supply affordable medicine and equipment to public healthcare facilities. The EFF must demand a national public health response to drugs and substance abuse, including state-funded rehabilitation centers and harm reduction programs. The EFF must ensure the finalization of the South African Reserve Bank Amendment Bill to nationalize the central bank. The EFF must introduce student debt cancellation legislation in Parliament to ensure that all student debt is cancelled and no student enters the job market already indebted. This plenum must resolve on the operational mechanism to execute these key resolutions amongst many others, as it relates to basic education, sports and culture, governance, justice, peace and security, state capacity, progressive internationalism, and state capacity. This mechanism must include guidelines, particularly when it relates to the establishment of regional structures and EFF Youth Command. Fellow fighters, the situation in South Africa under the ANC-DA coalition government has not improved and has, in fact, entrenched massive corruption and policy uncertainty. It has become increasingly clear that the unity of convenience with right-wing forces and capital by the former liberation movement will result in permanent contradictions and dilute the pursuit of social change and alleviation of poverty and unemployment. The coalition partners are in a permanent state of conflict on ideological questions and implementation of otherwise progressive legislation, because the intention of domestic and global capital was to ensure that progressive policies are not implemented by partnering the former liberation movement with racist and capitalist political parties. It has become increasingly clear that the marriage of convenience that today governs South Africa was established to ensure that the EFF is kept out of power at all costs, despite confusion that will arise out of a marriage between the right-wingers and a former liberation movement. The Bella Act has been fully signed into law, and the EFF will ensure that this progressive legislation is implemented without compromises or delay. Expropriation Act, although remains a cosmetic measure to address the land question and does not fully address the question of the need of expropriation of land without compensation, and the question of custodianship must be defended from the outrage of racists who oppose even slight steps to return the land to the rightful owners. The EFF has been consistent in pointing out the shortcomings of the National Health Insurance Bill, as it does not have a verifiable plan to address the collapse of public health care and funding to public health care institutions. However, the NHI is a legislation that has passed through National Assembly and National Council of Provinces in Parliament. As a result, we must defend the principle of lawmaking processes as enshrined in the Constitution, because the so-called GNU does not have the power to reverse or review the bills which have already passed in Parliament. Any organization that sits in the GNU and wants to utilize that platform to undermine the lawmaking process of Parliament, which defeated them, must be called out as constitutional delinquents who do not respect democracy. Democracy remains democracy even when it does not favor you, and we must defend this principle at all costs. Commissars and fighters, despite the heavily funded and orchestrated political alliance to portray the EFF as an organization that will collapse governance and the economy of South Africa, the EFF has been at the center of stable and functional governments in local government municipalities. The municipalities where the EFF governs are defined by stability and service delivery, while the so-called government of national unity has been defined by corruption scandal, policy uncertainty, disputes, and increases in unemployment through retrenchment in key industries. In the city of Tshwane, the EFF MMCs have been working tirelessly to ensure that the city is clean and that there is a provision of clean drinking water. And over the past month, for the first time, the people of Hammanskraal had clean drinking water. The city of Tshwane is the best example that the removal of the racist DA from government does not mean that governance will collapse, because service delivery has thrived in Tshwane since the DA was removed and replaced by the government of the EFF. In the city of Johannesburg, public safety and visibility is at its best level. And although other departments are failing in their responsibility, such as cleaning up our streets or fixing our roads, providing adequate electricity and water supply, where the EFF is deployed in the executive of Johannesburg municipality, we deliver services. The same goes for EFF Ikuruleni and Nelson Mandela Bay, where provision of water and fixing of infrastructure is on track in Ikuruleni, while in Nelson Mandela, the indigent such as old age homes are receiving cancellation to their debt to the municipality because of the EFF. There is a much more work that can be done in this year of the picket lines. Our MMCs must perform to the highest level and they will receive regular performance reviews. Comrades, fighters, and the people of South Africa, our nation finds itself in the middle of a war in the Democratic Republic of Congo without a clear explanation as to why. As the EFF, we commend our courageous soldiers who fought bravely and placed their lives on the line in order that they must ensure there is peace and stability in the DRC. Our soldiers are disciplined and could never question those orders, and they have followed these orders with discipline. There can be no doubt that those soldiers who have passed on sacrificed their lives and deserve to be recognized and honored. However, at the heart of the conflict in the Congo is not a desire for peace, but the greed of the West for the minerals wealth of Congo. The DRC is a home of vast reserves of minerals essential for modern technology, including cobalt and tin, titanium and gold. Around 70% of the world cobalt, crucial for electric cars, batteries, and smartphones, comes from DRC, yet Congolese people see none of these riches. Instead, multinational corporations and West nations exploit these resources while fueling conflict to maintain their access. Over 200 companies from the UK and Belgium are involved in the purchasing minerals from the DRC, and these nations directly finance armed groups and perpetuate violence. These corporations and their governments remain complicit, failing to regulate supply chain or hold corporations accountable for using conflict minerals. The chaos in the DRC goes back to the colonial conquest, and today is sustained by imperialist interest to loot the wealth of the DRC. This conflict is equally fueled by ethnic divisions in the region. Comrades, it is here where the influence of Rwanda in the DRC emerges. As ethnic group that fled from Rwanda during the Rwandan genocide and settled in the Eastern Congo are used as the basis for Rwanda support for M23 rebel against the regime in the DRC, while Rwanda is simultaneously a proxy of Western interests in the Congo. The conflict in the DRC, therefore, does not require a head of state who suffers from a desire to be a hero at the expense of the lives of our soldiers without an appreciation of the condition that informs the conflict. It is when you do not appreciate the condition that inform the conflict in the DRC that you will speak in folk tongues when you speak to the president of Rwanda and communicate a different message to the people of South Africa. Lies have short legs, Mr. President, and we demand clarity from you because you have sent our soldiers to their death and then antagonized forces in their region, knowing very well you are not prepared for war. It is crucial for fellow fighters to acknowledge this history and ask ourselves what is the specific role of the South African National Defense Force in the Congo, and in whose interest is our mission in the Congo? Whose peace and stability are we pursuing in the Congo? Is peace and stability for the continent, or peace and stability for mining interests of global capitalists? Commissars and fighters, citizens of our great country, and our armed forces who are in the trenches in the Congo, I take this opportunity to caution the President of South Africa, Sir Ramaphosa, not to fall into the pitfalls of warmongering and not allow desperation to inspire a misguided intervention in the conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. For centuries, when a nation is confronted by massive social and economic challenges such as poverty, starvation, homelessness, and unemployment, war has been a weapon of the ruling elite to mobilize patriotism. Those who have over the years in modern society lost of the popular mandate of the people have embarked on senseless wars, sacrificing soldiers in an attempt to unite the nation behind one common purpose and one common cause. The President of South Africa ought to be careful to not allow fanatics to incite him into war simply because it will give the people who have lost hope in him a common enemy to unite against. The dignity and pride of our army is not harmed because our African counterparts do not respect us. It is harmed because we have interfered in a conflict we do not understand and send our soldiers to fight rebels who are more equipped than us. We are being humiliated in DRC and threatened with war by President of Rwanda because our role of peace in the DRC is questionable, because there is no peace that has ever been achieved through the deployment of soldiers. The South African National Defense Force is not in DRC to pursue peace, but we are participating in the decade-old conflict to secure the mineral interests of the capital elite in the Congo. Our soldiers must withdraw from the DRC, not only because they have not been given the necessary equipment to pursue the so-called peace they are there for, but because the motivation to send our forces to the DRC are dishonest. Our children, our sons and daughters of the South African National Defense Force have been sent to their death because the mineral interests of multinational corporations and individuals must be secured. Our soldiers have been sent to be glorified bodyguards of the mines in the DRC, and this mission has been disguised as a pursuit of peace and a defense of democracy. Bring our soldiers home, because our army should not be a pawn in a game of capitalists, which has now exposed the weakness of our military capacity. Bring them home, because every day they pass away, we see the consequences of a deliberate destruction of our arms manufacturer, Dinel, and we see the consequence of the year-on-year budget cuts to the Defense Department. Bring our soldiers home, because they are the first line of defense for our people, not the first line of defense for the interest of capitalists and mining corporates. Mr. President, bring our soldiers home and desist from meddling in the affairs of DRC and Rwanda as if you are the USA of Africa, because we do not know if you'll be able to defend us when the rest of Africa turns their guns to the south. The manner in which the former liberation movement has collapsed our military and defense capacity is the embarrassment we must talk about. Mr. President and people of South Africa, to rescue the lives of our soldiers from a war they are not prepared for is not an embarrassment. It is a strategic and necessary retreat that prioritizes life over profits. Cyril Ramaphosa, I appeal to you and your conscience. Bring our soldiers home. Even if you threaten to fight a war against Rwanda, we don't have the military capacity to can fight any other country. Our army has collapsed because you have taken money away from them and put it under your mattresses. Today, our soldiers do not have food, do not have ammunition, do not have sophisticated equipment. We are not scared to fight, but at the moment, we are not ready and capable to fight. The best thing is to retreat. Commissars and fighters, let us make use of the time we have at this plenum to resolve on critical questions and map the way forward for our organization. This is the first and the final planning meeting for the 2026 local government elections, because after this, we head straight to the ground to establish the sub-regional structures and lead society directly from the picket lines. The past is behind us and can never determine our future or our destination. The EFF remains the weapon of the masses of our people, and it will achieve the generational mission of economic freedom in our lifetime. I thank you.
Babala, can you lead us with a song, right? Hello? Can someone lead us with a song whilst we are allowing the media to leave? Babalwa, lead us with a song. Yole shale sache, yole shale wenyamazana, yelele wenyamazana, welele wenyamazana, welele wenyamazana, sithi hlale hlathi. Awe sale sate, awe sale sate, sale sate yole, welele wenyamaza.